today the topic is separate realities, and by having an understanding of the three principles, mind, thought, and consciousness, then there will come a point that you realize that there are four different kinds of relationships. Okay? There's only four, by the way, never more, never less. Okay. So what I want to do to begin with is to do a quick refresher on these three principles, right? And the reason why I want to do that is when you see the principle kind of laid out, that then creates the foundation in which we can understand separate reality and the four different kinds of relationships. So it's not like there are four different kinds of relationships and then what we've got to do about it. If you understand that there is a foundation underneath it, there's no prescription involved. We're eliminating prescriptions. Okay, so let's begin with mind, thought, and consciousness. Right? Some of you will have taken part in our program a couple of months ago called the Three Principles from the Beginning. Right? It's a pay what you want program. If you want to pay zero, feel free to join, not a problem. Right? And as part of that program, we have a document called Chitty quotes. Right? And Kate and I were very deliberate about what quotes to include so that you could get a sense of what mind, thought, and consciousness is. Okay, because a lot of people say mind, thought, and consciousness, and it kind of goes over their head. What does that mean, kind of thing? All right. Okay. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to read the quote out from this document, right? And then we can use that at the beginning of laying out these three principles. Okay. And as a reminder, all the quotes come from Chitty. Okay, so the principle of mind. Mind is the intelligence, mind is the energy of all things, whether in formless or form. Divine mind is the intelligence of all things before creation and after creation. The impersonal mind or universal mind is constant and unchangeable. The personal mind is in a perpetual state of change. An important thing to realize is that universal mind and personal mind are not two minds thinking differently, but two ways of using the same mind. There's universal mind, and what that means is universal intelligence. Universal intelligence is what you call God, and that's mind. The principle of consciousness. Divine consciousness gives us the ability to recognize the existence of creation and all it entails. Consciousness is the gift of awareness. Consciousness allows the recognition of form, form being the expression of thought. Universal consciousness enables us to perceive existence. Personal consciousness allowed us to deal with our circumstances. The principle of thought. One of the most beautiful things that any human can realize is the mystical bridge between the form and the formless. Thought is that bridge. Thought is the master key that opens the world of reality to all living creatures. Thought is a divine tool that is the link between you and your divine inheritance, and is at the core of all psychological functioning. Focus on the missing link between our psychological nature and our spiritual nature. Within the soul of all human beings, there lies an innate spiritual knowledge that has the power to repair mental disturbances, not through analyzing their thoughts, but by seeing the power of thought itself. All that you survey comes from the invisible, and thought is the link between the invisible to the visible. Thought, young man, is your bridge to the cosmic wisdom that will assist you to see the hidden powers that lie within your own consciousness. Last page, the 3 principles. Divine thought, divine consciousness, and divine mind have no form. They have no form. They are a power. They are a gift. You put a form on it and you've missed it. Mind, consciousness, and thought are the 3 principles that enable us to acknowledge and respond to existence. Mind, consciousness, and thought are the spiritual gifts that enable us to see creation and guide us through life. If you take yourself, turn yourself inside out, you will find that what you thought was reality was the dream. Then you found true reality when you turn inside out. Life as we see it now is not a reality. It is the shadow of the true reality. Okay. If you want a copy of this document, let me know. Okay, so mind, thought, and consciousness. In page 42 of the Enlightened Gardener Revisited, Citibank came up with this formula that we can use. I'm going to abbreviate them as well. Mind plus thought plus consciousness equals reality. That's in the book. It's very clear. Page 42. Okay, so through these quotes that I have just shared with you, we can look a little bit deeper. Okay, so we have mind, the energy of all things, whether in formless and form. Okay, so we have formless and form. The way I see mind is I'm going to use red to indicate the principle. Everything takes place in mind. There's nothing outside of mind. Okay, we have the formless and the form. A reminder of the quote, all that you survey comes from the invisible, and thought is the link between the invisible to the visible. So we have the formless. Something comes from the formless, goes through the principle of thought, the breach, and it creates form. Okay. One moment. And the principle of consciousness is having reality so that you can acknowledge and respond to existence. Okay, so form is another word for it. So we would put so the form takes place in the principle of consciousness. Therefore, we can have a reality, we can have form, and therefore able to respond to it. Okay? Now, sticking back to the word reality, okay, so what we can do, if we can take the word form out and replace it with another word, it's another way of saying the same thing. So straight away, this is giving me lots of insights. So for example, the reality in which we survey is taking place inside of mind. There's no reality outside of mind. So people usually come up with the idea of an objective reality out there. From the human experience, there's no reality out there. Reality takes place inside. So that's why I like to ask the question, where is reality? And people kind of go like, over there. No, reality is inside. That's what we respond to. Okay. Therefore, there's nothing outside that can give you a reality. It's already created inside. We have the principle of mind, principle of thought, and the principle of consciousness. Okay. So we call this the reality formula. I also call this the insight formula, because in order to have an insight, it begins with the formless. And then it comes into your reality, and it's a very insightful reality. You just learn something new. So the wisdom begins from the formless. Another way of saying formless is nothing, the nothingness. So wisdom begins from nothing. What other word is there? Before creation. Wisdom is another word you can put there. What the word is, at the end of the day, doesn't really matter that much. the point is, there's something there. Okay. So this is the reality formula. I call it the insight formula. It's also the inside out expression that Keith and Bowder have been sharing for many years. Right. So, and this is one way of using mind. This is the insightful way of using mind. I can't tell you much about the formula except that it is this. Okay, so this is the insightful way of using mind. I'm now going to use the blue line to mark it, to show the difference between the two ways of using mind. Okay, so what is that other way of using mind? You know, sometimes we see the principles and sometimes we don't. Me too. So what we have to do now is that we have to take away the principles in the other way of using mind. Okay, so we'll start off with reality. Because everybody knows they've got a reality in every moment. Right? So if we look over here now, right, you see that the formless requires the bridge called thought in order to create reality. But on this side, or the other way of using the mind, we can't have a principle of thought because this way doesn't have no principle. And because there's no principle, there is no such thing as something inside creating reality. Would have been like this because you need a principle of thought to create the bridge. But because there's no principle of thought to create the bridge, we would have to take that out. Okay? And now, because the formula cannot exist in your awareness, right? We are going to use reality as the beginning in which we think. Okay? Here, there's no thinking involved, but we use the reality we observe in the moment as the basis for how we use our mind. In other words, we're using what has already been created to think. And because we're thinking, what happened is it creates more thoughts on top of reality to start building up a head of steam or multiple thoughts. It just gets busier, noisier, that kind of thing. And because there is no principle of mind to keep everything within the container or that kind of thing, there is no container over here. So you can go completely loose with how you use the mind. You can go. And it could go on forever. And this is how people become mentally disturbed, if you like. They become mentally sick because of this, not realizing where the source of this is. Okay. And because there's the principle of consciousness for reality in the inside out, right, we would automatically know where reality is taking place. It's inside. But because there's no principle of consciousness there, right, it now looks like reality is taking place outside. That's the difference between inside and outside. When it's inside, the reality you see is made of thought. When it's outside, the reality you see will not appear to be made of thought. It will look like a solid thing that you have to do something about. Okay. Makes sense so far? All right. So, the other thing, just very briefly, because reality is in the box, reality stopped here. There's nothing more to go on. There's no room for it. But over here, you've got all the room you want. And thank goodness for these principles to keep it on the straight and narrow. It also reveals something enlightening about mental health. What if we replace the word formless with mental health? Right? And each and every one of us is using the principle every moment. We are actually carrying mental health with us everywhere we go. Which is remarkable. It's already there. We just haven't connected to it. But when you're over here, there's no mental health to be seen. Therefore, you create a reality with the idea, I need to create mental health so I can be healthy. There's no need for that. Okay. One last thing before I move into separate realities. The principle of mind, the principle of thought, and the principle of consciousness are formless. Another way of saying formless is that they are spiritual, which means everything inside it is also spiritual. Reality is therefore spiritual. But when you're outside reality, because there's no principle to let you know it's a spiritual reality, it would then appear as a physical reality. Thing that you can do something about, like you can put in your hand kind of thing. But this one, you can't put reality in your hands. Okay? So now we have the two ways of using the mind. And for the sake of argument, I'm going to call this way of using mind inside, and this way of using mind outside. The word doesn't matter, as long as see how it works. Okay? Separate realities now. Okay. We have a person here. I don't know of a way to convey reality taking place inside, so I'm just going to do a graphical misnomer of what it means. So this person has a reality inside. It should be the other way around, but I can't put a reality inside, otherwise it looks like it's in the body. So this person had a reality, right? The question isn't what is in your reality, is that you have a reality. So I'm not telling you what to think, what to feel, none of that. We're looking at the context here, the structure of reality rather than what's in it. Okay, so we have one person with their own reality. And then we have another person also with their own reality. Okay, one reality over here, another reality over there. There's now two people, therefore two realities. Okay, so where did the word separate come from? We now know that all realities come from the formless and go through the principle of thought to create reality. Therefore, every reality is created from the inside out. This person's reality is created from the inside out. Okay? Which means there is no mechanism in which one reality can go from one to the other. None. Zero. Nada. Okay. So you live in your own reality just like every other person in the world. Sitting by instead, there are as many realities as there are people, and a lot more. Okay. If there are 8 billion people in this moment, there are 8 billion realities being played out. And no one knows what's in other people's realities, only your reality. Because what you observe is limited to within your own reality. Okay? You cannot observe outside of your reality. So your maximum scope of reality will always be the boundary in which you can have a reality. And it all takes place inside. Okay. So since there's no mechanism from one reality to go to another, right? We can take two significant implications from this. One is that every person's reality is individual to the person. The individual, okay? And because there's no connection between the two realities, we can also say that they are independent. Every reality is independent of every other reality, which is wonderful news, because now we know the rules of the game about separate realities. Oh, everything that I'm seeing right now is in my reality. Everything that you see right now is in your reality. What is in your reality again? I'm not concerned about that. That downstream. Okay. So this is why I like to say, instead of saying separate reality, I like to say individual and independent realities. Hence, separate realities. Okay. So you live in your own reality and you respond to it. Nothing wrong with having a reality. That's how we function as human beings. Okay. So, and just very briefly, we can add more people. Now you can start to see, you can start to get a feeling of how many realities there are happening at the moment. I mean, right now we have 23 people online on this webinar, right? Which means there are 23 realities happening now. You know what's in your own reality, but what's in other people's reality? I don't know. Okay. Just very briefly, I want to talk about a little bit about group think. Just a couple of minutes. Because group think is a very big problem. It's a trap a lot of people fall into. So, inside out, there are three people together, each and every one of them with their own reality. Group think is when you have the same three people. Not realizing that their reality is being created from the inside out. It now appears to them as one single reality being shared by the group. The problem with this is that you lose sight of the individual. And when you lose sight of the individual, bear with them. Keep it individual if you can. This is groupthink. It's like the group does the thinking, but not the individual does the thinking. Okay, so this is called groupthink. Okay, all kinds of relationships. Okay, so if you remember, we spoke about the two different ways of using the mind, inside and outside. Okay, so we have one person here and another person over there. This person A, this person B. I put a smile on his face. I like smileys. Right. This person could be inside or outside. So we can say inside, outside. This person could also be inside and outside. Okay. So straight away, we have one kind of relationship exposed. A person A being inside and person B being inside. And that one kind of relationship. This is a beautiful relationship because this person is coming from having their own reality and keeping it inside. And this person having their own reality and keeping it inside. And because wisdom is inside, you will then have reality based on wisdom. That connection. Okay. We also have another kind of relationship. What if this person is inside and this person is outside? There we have the second kind of relationship. There's a lot of things that happen there. But this person can also be outside and this person could also be inside. And here we are. We have the 4 different ways of relationship. We have 2 people being inside, beautiful relationship. This person's inside and the other person is outside. I'm not saying it's beautiful or bad, it's just one of those things that happened. And how it turned out, there's nothing consistent about it. Okay. And there's also the third one where this person is inside, believing reality is out there, but the other person is inside out, meaning they know their reality is inside. Right? And then we have the last kind of relationship where both people are outside, both of them believe their reality are on the other, outside of them. How do you think this kind of relationship usually goes? Difficult. Now, here's the thing. I believe, according to my own observation, most relationships begin here, outside to outside. I mean, when you meet somebody for the first time and you really like him, oh, isn't he wonderful? Isn't she magnificent? Isn't she right? Isn't he, oh, he's so handsome. And all the positivity, they often talk about the other person, right? Nothing wrong with that, right? But the relationship that, I don't want to use the word survive, but the relationship that make progress, right? are those that move from here and work their way up. Okay. Right. So they start to get moments of this person being inside out, and therefore the contribution to the relationship, even when the other person is outside in. Right? Or it could be the other way. The other person could be inside out, and this person could be outside in. Okay. But eventually, if they keep connecting to the inside, the within, which is another word for mind, within, this is the result. Okay. So each and every one of us have the potential to have beautiful relationships. Because the inside, they've got the inside, and this person got the inside too. However, but that's not what really usually happens. This is not a static explanation. It is a dynamic explanation. What that means is that you might find yourself in one moment of the day in your relationship. It could be this relationship you're in. And then a few seconds later, you could be in this relationship. And then a few seconds later, you could be in this relationship. So we're kind of going up and down. Sometimes we're inside out. Sometimes we're outside in. And therefore, the dynamic of a relationship changed, not because of what the other person did, but because of whether they see their reality being inside or outside. That's all it is. So when I saw this, I'm like, well, if I'm going to have a relationship, because this area is all I can control, in other words, I'm inside or outside, right? This is what gives me the means, the two inside gives me the means to handle other people's outside. This person has also got the inside, but again, what that kind of happens. There's a unbelievable story. Well, it's not a story, it actually happened. I was there. So in 2017, I went to Lucana to help Bowder and Keith to set up their first 4-day seminar. It was called Exploring the Logic and Wisdom of the Three Principles of the Paradigm. Some of you may know about it. Right? And then I arrived there about a week before the event started in order to help out with all the preparations and everything. Right? And one of the things that Kinder Bowder wanted to do, because there were going to be a lot of people from all over the world coming to Lucana, there was also a lot of people going to live stream the event online. Okay, so we booked a room, and in that room there wasn't any fertility in which the people present in the room could see the faces of those who are streaming online. Okay, so Keith Bowder and I went to I think it was Best Buy, I don't know, to a technology store, one of those great big American technology stores, to get a brand new black TV, black screen. Okay, so that we can put it on some kind of, it was a wardrobe in the end, so we can put it on top of it, and then everybody in the room would be able to see and hear the people who are making comments online. Okay, so at Best Buy, Kid and Bowder, they had one of those really old traditional televisions that had a really big back, you know, the cathode tube ones. So I was surprised that they didn't have a flat screen at the time. So it was a new thing for them. Okay, so we went into Best Buy and explored a few areas, and when I thought, well, a lot of them look really good. They thought so too. And then a salesperson came along to, to see if they wanted any help. Right? So Chitty and Bowder asked the stealth guy some questions, that, telling them, explaining what they needed, what it's for, and that kind of thing. Right? And the stealth guy, bless his heart, he was what I perceive to be a very pushy stealth person who's really front-loading them with lots and lots and lots of information about all the technological features of every television. Okay, right. So now I wasn't in the conversation, but no, those shots have aisles, and they go up to about here, right? So I can see over. So I'm kind of 1 hour behind and watching watching Bowder and the stealth guy, right? So and I thought he's been a bit pushy here. I don't think he knows Bowder very well. So so he keeps talking, and keep talking, and Bowder was just taking it all in. She wasn't being affected by it. I think I was a little bit, even though I wasn't part of the conversation. Right? She kept taking it all in, bang, 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 bang. Right? And then about 2 minutes later, right, Bowder said, "Stop. I can think for myself." In that moment, it was only 1 second, but in that 1 second was the quietest space in the universe. For me, it felt like I was picking up wisdom for 1 hour non-stop in that 1 second. That's what it felt like to me. Right? So, but it was a huge whoa moment. Here's Bowder being stopped, kind of thing. Right? The change in the stealth person was incredible. It's like he had it's like he completely switched personality. I mean, if you could see his face, it's like he went through 3 plastic surgery. It was completely different. So however, knowing how the outside in work, or the outside, they have what called extremes. Okay, so the stealth guy went from an extreme of really pushing that kind of thing, and then 1 moment later, the shock on his face, and then suddenly it looked to me that he was now in fear of Bowder, because he didn't realize how strong Bowder is. Right. And truth be told, even I was affected by this, and I was in fear of Bowder too. I was like, oh, blimey, that kind of thing. And what's more, it took me the better part of 2 years to get over it. Right. Meaning that I finally saw Bowder as Bowder instead of the object as a human being having the capacity to make me feel fear. It's much nicer to see people as they are instead of objects, if you like. Now, the point isn't that what the stealth guy did and how he changed as a result, but there was something about Bowder that was like, whoa. Right. He demands respect. He takes no nonsense from anybody who treats her that way. Now, I know that the stealth person is not the only person to receive that kind of treatment, but it shows how people who are so strong, so inside, and they're not one for bargaining. You can't bargain with them. They are going to be strong. Okay? So here we are. We have these 4 different kinds of relationships. I've not told you how to be any one of them. I've said that they are dynamic. We change, big changes all day long. The fact that is a relationship, because we now have 2 minds or 2 realities, that means we now have the opportunity to cooperate and collaborate. We also now have the opportunity to see, oh, I'm having my own reality. I don't know what's in your reality. Could you tell me what's in your reality, and we can exchange ideas? cooperation and collaboration. Okay? I'm not telling you how to love other people, although if you're inside, you're going to love the other person anyway. Right? I'm not telling you whether to start a relationship, keep your relationship, break up your relationship, or not to go in a relationship. That's prescription. That's a doing. That's down the road. I'm just telling you how things work. Right. So again, back with the founder story. Before founder says stop, I can think for myself, there are separate realities. After, there is still separate realities. Okay. So with this in mind, given that we know what makes a beautiful relationship, given that this one is the only thing that we're in control of, we can't be in control of others, but we can love them because love comes from inside. Love doesn't come from the other person because there's no connection for their reality to come into your reality. The love is always the state of mind generated from the within. It never ever comes from another person, which is wonderful news for me because I kept thinking, well, if I could have a partner, if only she could love me, now I didn't have to carry that thought anymore. I was now free. And when I'm free, I now have the capacity to love. Again, another story from Valda. She said, words to the effect of, I can't remember exactly what they said. She says something like, her sister doesn't love me that much, but that doesn't stop me from loving her. Isn't that amazing? So suddenly now, love is not something that comes from the outside anymore, which means we don't have to work on it anymore. When something's on the outside, it looks like you're going to have to work on it. You don't have to anymore. The reason why you don't have to anymore is because the formless is inside mind. It's inside, it's within. It's not anywhere else. And love is another word to describe the formless. The mind is the energy of all things, where the formless are formed, before creation and after creation, and it takes place within mind. Another way of saying mind is the spiritual theatre. Okay, it takes place in that theatre, not taking place anywhere else. Okay. Thought is what allows something to come from the formless and turns it into form. It's like a converter, that's why we call it the bridge. Okay? And thought is the only thing that allows you to convert wisdom into a reality that has wisdom in it. So thank goodness for thought, the principle of thought, that is. And consciousness allows us to have a reality so that we can take part in it and respond to that reality. Okay? This is wonderful news because all of it is not outside of you. Any reality you can have will come from within. It's the only way that can happen. Each and every one of you have wisdom built in. And all it takes is one step into the inside and you've made it. But how to do that? That's something you have to discover for yourself. I mean, if I could tell you, I would bottle it and make lots of it, I would be a millionaire overnight. But no, it's a 100% an internal journey. Okay, so, and here are the 4 kinds of relationships. I am no saint at relationships, but I think I'm a lot better now than I used to be. I think I treat people with a lot more kindness, love, understanding, compassion, forgiveness, that kind of thing. And how other people treat me, well, again, we have this reality formula. When they say something not kind to me, well, it's not that, it's in their reality. But how I have my reality is not determined by their reality. Therefore, I might hear the word and hear it not in a horrible way. I'm just like, oh, they're having a thought, and it's limited to them. So, but the more we see separate realities, the more we see that every reality is individual and independent of every reality there is, which is another way of saying, the more you see every person with their own reality, and more independent individual they are, then the more you can see the person as they are, rather than ego ideas about what they're doing. So ego is not a given. The inside is not a given. Mental health is your birthright. Mental illness is also your birthright. It is the understanding of these three principles that will orient you in one direction more than the other. So I encourage you, investigate these principles, study it, read Citibank's book, listen to his audio. It's all there, helping you to be mentally healthy. And that's the greatest gift I think any human being can come up with for other people to explore. And for that, I'm super thankful. Because if it wasn't for him and the people that have learned from him, taken voucher from me especially, I would have carried on living a life having absolutely no idea that a life from the inside is way better than anything I've ever had. There was a question Kate asked me some time ago, and he said, what was your inner life like when you were younger, Brett? And I replied, I didn't know I had an inner life. It's not what happened in the inner life. It's that you have an inner life. That's enough. One moment on the inside, it's life changing. One moment on the inside puts you in the house of God. One moment on the inside gives you an experience where you're healthy, peaceful, and quiet. These three principles are not self-created. You didn't make them. That's why Citibank said you can only use them. If you use them wisely, in other words, be inside, you will use it wisely whether you want to or not. But when you're outside, you will not be using it wisely. Love and understanding is within you. It's yours. It's your divine inheritance from whatever it is that created it. My wish for you is for you to find that place and watch your life transform and enjoy quiet mind. Okay? So, oh, okay, so we're now at the hour. I am open to any thoughts, questions, insights, stories. Let's hear it. Tony.
Hi, Brett. When I came on earlier, it was to let you know there was a problem with the audio, just so you know. Um, My question today is when you explain brilliantly, thank you so much for the presentation. The two ways behind you, you've got the different four ways of people interacting. I think a lot of the people on the call, certainly me, can relate to these realities clashing between people. So I just want to use an example. I have a real example. My neighbour's very angry with me because I asked her to turn the television down a couple of evenings ago. So can we just kind of look at the board behind and because if somebody comes to my face and they're very angry, on their body language is aggressive, you know, I could become any of those four different places. Probably it's moving up and down all the time. So I suppose what I'm trying to ask is, I'm trying to get to a place of understanding that this person isn't forcing my reality, but I can't think of them any differently because they're being very aggressive. And I'm, of course, taking that personally. So over to you.
Well, okay. One of the concerns I have is whether I should be sharing these for different kinds of relationships. The important thing to realize is these can only come about as a result of mindful unconsciousness. Okay, that's the direction here. Okay, so if you think about the other person having their television on too loud, right, then you are having a reality where their television is too loud. And that's happening on the inside. Okay, so I can draw this in another way.
Okay.
So that would be you, Tony, and I'm going to put a really big smile here. Okay, and you've got your own reality.
Yeah.
The only thing you'll ever see is what within your reality. That includes the things you hear and see. Right? So within your reality, you have a television that's blasting really, really loudly. Okay, it's inside your reality. That's the content of your reality. Now, the important thing is not so much that it's being inside your reality, but if we keep reverse engineering, if you like, it's another way of describing it, right? So you realize that the television being too loud as an experience is inside of your reality. And now we can say this reality is taking place in here. Okay, it's inside mine. It's not taking place where the television is blasting really loudly. It's two different things. It's two different things. Okay. Now, I'm not saying that the television out there doesn't exist. I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about the nature of reality here. Okay. Now, so here's the thing. When you're inside, right, then that means you're going to have wisdom telling you how to deal with it. Because it's inside. Because notice, from left, we have dot. Yeah, okay. Right. This is another word for wisdom. Right. So when you're out there and you're inside, you'll be able to have wisdom about this TV. Now, it's not for me to tell you what wisdom will do for you.
Yeah, I understand.
I can't predict. Okay.
Yeah.
So, but you're grounded about this. You understand what's going on because you're inside.
So are you basically also saying that we could take the television out and we could put the neighbour there as well? As long as I'm inside when I experience the neighbour, it's the same thing, yeah?
Well, it doesn't matter what's in it. You can put your neighbour in it as well.
Got it.
No,
Got it.
okay. So,
Got it.
however, the outside way of doing it, I'm going to put a storytelling, an unhappy frown kind of thing. And you have a reality, but because you're not inside, the reality doesn't look like it's taking place inside. So I can't draw a red circle around it anymore.
No.
That's what makes you lose your bearings. So now you've got a television that's making a lot of noises. Right? It now looks like it's on the outside. Right? And because it's on the outside, you then use this as the source of how you're going to deal with this.
Yeah.
Right? And because it looks like it's taking away your peace of mind, your whatever you want to call it,
Yeah.
because it's on the outside, it's very tempting to do something about it.
Yeah, it makes total sense. And as we've said, that it doesn't matter whether that's a person or a television inside. It doesn't.
Exactly.
It just
Yeah.
matters whether you're inside or outside. I get you.
Yeah, that's the
Okay.
key to understanding.
Yeah,
The
because you've got access.
understanding of the
You've got
understanding of the
access to
person.
Windsor. Yeah.
Yeah.
Sorry, Brett. I was just saying you've got access to wisdom within inside the circle.
That's right.
Right.
That's right. Understanding reality as a outcome of mind, thought, and consciousness is everything. Because in here, you have one way of living life, and this one is completely the other way of living life. I'm not telling you to be here or over here, but I do know this is going to do much more for you than what this will do for you. Now, that doesn't mean that this won't work. I mean, sometimes you can go to somebody, be forceful and say, turn your TV down. It could work. But here, you could see the same effect. But the other thing here, you don't lose peace of mind when you're here because you're inside. The formula stops you from going haywire. Here, there's no wisdom. You have to take on all that work for yourself.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you.
Yeah, so I'm not telling you what to do or what not to do. I'm just pointing to this is one way of living, this is another way of living. You have the right to have both. Which one you want to live in, it's up to you.
Yeah, okay. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Tony. That was a really good point. Okay, if Badney has her hand raised.
Hi, Brett. You explained that very nicely. Would you agree that if one person on the two columns you had before, like dominoes, if one person is on the inside, they have, I was going to say the power, maybe the potential to actually influence the one that's on the outside, and make them more inside, or not make them, but mirror or something like that, so that the other person, like once one of you's on the inside, there's hope for both of you.
Okay. If you're on the inside and the other person's on the outside, I cannot predict with any certainty what will happen to the other person. I cannot predict it. I mean, for example, Sydney Banks. I read his autobiography, which hasn't been released yet, and I hope it comes out soon. I mean, it's an incredible thing. Right? It's what I was struck by was how many times people flew from all over the world to meet somebody who's enlightened. Okay, so that they go and see him and they talk with him, right? And almost always they talk about their problem. They talk about or the content of what they think. What did this bill to mean? This is the meaning of that kind of thing. And Citibank was having none of that. None of it. All they wanted to do was talk about mind, thought, and consciousness, which is really interesting. Right? Right. So for somebody with the power of the inside, like Citibank, he does not have a 100% track record of making people be inside out. He does not have a 100% track record in getting other people to hear their wisdom. There were a lot of people who were so caught up in their thoughts, they just couldn't hear, with the capital A, hear Citibank. And I have to be honest with you, I was one of them too for a long time, until somehow it happened. It took me 4 years in the 3 principles before I had my first genuine insight. 4 years. So there's no guarantee what can happen to the other person. Sometimes it will work and sometimes it doesn't. I think all it boils down to is whether the other person had a moment of being inside as they listen to you. Not whether you are inside or not. It's about that's for the other person. So, what was I going to say? Yeah. So it's unpredictable. This is why when people read the writing of Citibank, right, there are 2 ways of reading his work. You read it from the inside, in which case you want to have insight as you read his words, not because of his words, but because you're inside. Or you can read his writing from the outside, and then it's going to look very prescriptive, doing what do I do about this? This is what I need to do. That's what it's going to look like. So it's not about what you do to other people. It's more about you keeping yourself inside as the other person navigate their way, whether inside or outside. It's always about inside or outside. It's always about the principle, whether you're inside or outside. That's it. That is the foundation in which you can understand anything around you. Right now, I'm seeing in front of me my webcam, my monitor, and the faces that I see. That in my reality. Yes, the monitor's over there, but I am seeing the monitor inside. That means when it's inside, I have wisdom and my bearing as I deal with this. This stopped me from being nervous about webinars. So the key is for you to stay inside. Let's have an example. Let's say there's a parent, right? Their child is having a tantrum moment. Okay. When you have a tantrum moment, you know what it feels like. They're just outside in the moment. Doesn't matter what they're having a tantrum about. The fact they're having a tantrum tells me they're outside, right? Because they don't really know the principles until they have their own sense of intuition about it, right? It's important for the parent to be inside so they're not reacting to the other person's tantrum. Because when you're inside, you're realizing the tantrum is taking place within you. Right? And the last thing you want to do is to do something about your tantrums. Because when you do something about your tantrum, you're including wisdom in the process. Wisdom is what gives you another perspective, another reality about what you're observing. Inside, outside, the greatest differential maker. And we didn't create it, but we can get a sense. There are these 3 principles, mind, thought, and consciousness. They are principles. And when I say mind, thought, consciousness, I'm not talking about your mind or your thought or your consciousness. Those are changeable, they're variables. The principle of mind or the power of mind or the concept of mind or the axiom of mind or whatever word you want to use, they are unchangeable. It never changes. Therefore, become predictable and reliable. We're not talking about your thought. We're talking about the principle of thought. They are different. One is personal and the other one is impersonal. The fact that there is a difference means they cannot be the same. They cannot be the same. And there's also your consciousness and universal consciousness. They're not the same. If you can find that which is impersonal within you, that's the space in which you can have wisdom coming to you. So it's not about the other person being inside or outside in. I mean, sure, it's lovely to wish the other person would be inside, but you're not in charge of their inner direction. You are in charge of your inner direction. There's a story I would like to share. It's a metaphorical story. Imagine there's a brand new theme park being built. And you've got lots of things that you associate with the theme park, like roller coasters, log flumes, restaurants, bars, stores, lots of characters in their outfits with a great big smile, that kind of thing. Right? And what they did was they built a moat all around it, a very deep moat. Okay. And then it was time to announce the opening of this brand new theme park. And they advertised everywhere, in the papers, on television, on the radio, on the internet, everywhere. Okay. And it was, people now know, here's the date in which the theme park is going to open. So when that date arrives, right, then obviously a lot of people are coming over. And they park their cars or arrive by bus or bicycle or whatever. They come to the theme park, right? And then it was time, and they were approaching the payment booths, if you like, payment booths, right? And it was all shut up because it had to open at 9 o'clock precisely, and they all arrived early to be one of the first ones to enter. However, this theme park was a little bit different. Okay, or maybe we can say rather different. In order to get into the theme park, well, you have to cross the moat, right? So there's the bridge again. Right? Okay, so when they arrived there, right, there was a lot of barriers there to say you can't pass this barrier until 9 o'clock. Okay, then 9 o'clock comes along, and then suddenly all the barriers were lowered into the ground. You can now go to the theme park, right? Completely free of charge if you want to, right? And people were going, oh, wait a minute, how do we get over there? How do we cross the moat? We can't see anything. There's no bridge, there's no transport to get over there, there's nothing. How do we get there? And then suddenly people started muttering, they started getting upset. Now, how could you possibly design a theme park that doesn't have a bridge? I mean, how silly it is. Right? So I'm like, oh, the people were starting to get a bit upset. They started to get angry. They started to vent their frustration, that kind of thing. And then the owner of a theme park came to the front and he said, ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much for coming. You are more than welcome to come to the theme park free of charge. Wow, how do we get there? And he said, well, there is a bridge, but it's a mystical bridge. If you have the eye to see the bridge, then you can cross the bridge and enjoy everything the theme park has to offer. Right? But nobody was crossing the bridge. Okay? And then suddenly, a few minutes later, there was this one family, mother, father, and 2 kids. And all 4 of them started walking towards the moat. Right? Now they could see the bridge, but everybody else couldn't. So everybody else was saying, no, 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 don't cross, you'll fall in the moat. Right? But they just kept on walking, and then suddenly something miraculous happened. They took their first step on that mystical bridge. Right? And everybody was seeing them. It looked to them that, oh, they're walking on thin air. Right? It was like, oh, how do you do that? They couldn't understand. So they were perplexed by what they were seeing. And then this family got to the end and is now on the other side in the theme park, enjoying everything they had to offer. And so people were like, how did they do that? That kind of thing. And then, but most people were upset. But there were a few people, not many, very few people, that were like, wait a minute, how do they do that? How are able, is there a bridge there or not? But they know there's something going on here. They're being inquisitive about it. They're exploring. They're investigating. Right? And then suddenly there was another family that walked to the front toward the moat. Right? And guess what? They started walking on thin air because they're walking on the bridge. But to everybody else, no, they can't see it. There's another family that did it. And then that kept going on and on and on. And that's what we mean by this bridge. The bridge gives you the eye to see the invisible. The principles give you the eye to see the invisible. And when you see it, the invisible becomes visible to you. I'm not going to tell you what it's going to look like. That's for you to find out. So you've got a choice. You're either going to be like this family who had spiritual eyes to see the spiritual bridge and cross over, or you're going to stay outside in the physical, not being any the wiser and complaining why there isn't a bridge. Okay, so I think that's a wonderful story. I did love it. I don't know how I came up with it, but there you go. Okay, what else is there? Yes, there will be a recording on the website, hopefully in the next couple of days. So I'm going to begin wrapping up now, right? But I would like to bring to your attention one more thing, right? Tomorrow we are starting, Keith and I are starting a 4-part program called The Miracle of Separate Realities. It's a deep dive into how realities are separate. So we're going to look at the formula. We're going to look at what makes reality separate. We're going to look at the implications of separate reality and the effect of separate reality, of which there is many. Okay, so and I encourage you to take a look at that program. It's $100 to join. If you are registered in America at a psychologist or something, you can claim CE units as well. Okay, so if you're interested, we'd love to have you there, and we'll see what happens. All right. So I'm going to go now, and I thank each and every one of you. I hope you all have beautiful spiritual realities of your own, and please take care of yourself. God bless each and every one of you. Bye-bye, everyone.
Thanks.
Take care, everyone.